writer. I wrote a novel about young adults fighting dragons, and after doing the fourth draft of that, I was done with dragons and needed to write something else, and I came up with this. So this is a story called The Painter. It is, the whole thing is on fictiondepot.com, right next to the Ice House, actually. And at this point of the story, the main character, his name is Mark, and he's a painter who's had an abusive childhood. His dad died when he was very young and had a very bad relationship with his mother. And he hasn't ever really been able to get over that. And he started painting, which helped him in some way, but it was still clinging to him. Until he met this, a curator named Archie Lieberman, who gave him a magical oil. No, I just don't know how to portray that on the page, really. Which he said, well, if he uses this paint, it would make a fantastic painting, and it would also let him take out all his emotion onto the canvas, and then he wouldn't feel it anymore. So he's taking a chance, and this is him painting with this magical oil. Ignoring that he was alone in the house, Mark looked back to make sure that his studio door was locked before pouring a trickle of the oil into blue paint. It began as he mixed it, his own essence being churned into an image within his head. He looked at the canvas and took up a new brush before adding some of the oil into the red. The memory of blood seeping out of his hand after being stabbed with scissors came back to him as the image began to form upon his mental canvas. He mixed some grey into the red. He began to sweat as the images ran through him. He did not fight the twisting, nor even feel the need to. It was as if he was two people, the boy who had been beaten and scared and abused by his mother during his childhood, and the artist who could portray it. It happened every time he painted, but never like this. Never were the dual parts of him working at their best the way they were now. Either the brush would fall as the painter fell victim to the pain of the child, or the painter would suffocate the child from bringing in too much pain. But this time, as he mixed his paints, and the pain rose to the ultimate threshold, the painter in him maintained absolute control over all of it. The thick brush of darkened brown washed against the canvas. He was possessed by himself, and he discovered what he was going to smear over the background of shit-colored brown when he was halfway through it. He painted each of his mother's eyes differently. One eye showed how it pierced him when he was young. The other depicted how he looked at him from beyond the grave. Her skin came next. The oil allowed him to know the exact degree of grey and pink and brown. He knew when to curve, when to break off, when to dab, and when to stroke. There was so much pain as his mother beat him with a rolling pin. But his possessed hand continued on, painting the pin with smudges of blood dripping from it. The bloody scissors, the blood-stained chair and table, her dented bloody wedding ring, the iron, all of them scattered across the painting around him as unyet painted Mark Keaton. He mixed new paints. Using one of his finest brushes, he drew each strand of his mother's hair with a precision that his emotional state should not have allowed. His own hair he did next, each raggedy string drawn to perfection. He left cracks on his head by carefully painting patches of red on his scalp. He knew exactly where to paint the blood and what shape to make each speck. A year ago, he'd ripped one of his paintings down the middle when it had become too much. Not this time. This time his anger automatically focused him into the detailing of his fist that was so tight that he could see the pain squeezing out from the scars and burns that lined the arm. The rapid movement and beyond real concentration began to take its physical toll, but Mark refused to pause, to drink water that he was rapidly losing. He couldn't stop, not when so much of the tragedy had already been painted out. He stood back and again mixed a new set of colors for the finishing touches. An extra spot of blood spraying from his exposed lips, a soft, almost unnoticeable spattering of black by his screaming mouth, and an extra cockroach where his spine was poking out of his skin. Taking a single gulp of water, his painting hand madly mixed a blackened red. He put the cup down. Then with the scab-colored red coating the brush, Mark twisted his fingers unconsciously and painted a broken, swirling line around the thick umbilical cord, tracing it from his mother's womb to every strand of the web that clogged so deep into him that there were indentations under his flesh. There was nothing left to paint. Well, on a happy note, I'd like to say the story.